Hi, and welcome to Accessibility with Meg. This is Meg, and today we continue our reading with the stories of web users. Yesterday we read the story of Eddie, who had limited use of his arms, and with his motor disability, we read all about the different WCAG options and how a person with this persona can be helped, right? Today we're moving to another story in the same page. It's about Ian. And Ian is a data entry clerk with autism. Ian is autistic. He has difficulty understanding online content and layouts that change often, including carousels, pop-up ads, and videos that play automatically. So let's click into the story of Ian. I'm not sure if it's Ian or Ian. I'm going to call this person Ian. Okay, it sounds more right to me. So let's call him Ian. Ian, data entry clerk with autism. Again, we see accessibility. It's about people. That's a very, very important thing to remember. Starting to read. Ian is a data scientist who is autistic. Digital technology is generally easy for Ian until something unexpected happens, like a software update that affects parts of the system he has to work with. This causes Ian extreme anxiety. Outside of work, Ian likes to cook and use recipe videos he finds online. Whether Ian uses his computer at work or at home, plain language and consistent navigation and page layouts are important. If something changes as a result of an update, it is best to tell Ian what has changed and give him the time to adjust. Also, like many people with cognitive and learning disabilities, pop-up ads and videos that start playing automatically are frustrating and confusing. Page contents, about Ian, barrier examples, assistive technologies and adaptive strategies used, related why resources, related principles, video, Ian, data entry clerk with autism. Note, the user story is an example of a person with this type of disability. Other people with this disability may have different experiences. Stopping to read. So we see this is a story about Ian, who is autistic. He is a data entry clerk with autism, and the different challenges that he faces when he uses uses the internet or any digital software is what is being addressed in this persona. And here, when we go through these, it gives us an insight into people with disabilities, the difficulties that they face, and gives us a better understanding of how disabilities and the internet connect, right? How people with disabilities and the internet connect, really. So we are going to read further and understand more about this particular type of disability. We must keep in mind that this is just an example of a person with this type of disability. Now, people with a similar disability, autism, may have different experiences, but this is specific to the story of Ian. Reading further. About Ian. Quotes. I find it hard to focus on busy pages. For example, lots of animations and videos, particularly ones that start without me doing anything, are really frustrating. Yes. So for somebody with autism, I would understand focusing on something which is extremely busy is quite hard. That's why simplicity on a web page is very important for accessibility. Also, lots of animations and videos that start automatically. So sometimes when you load a page, people have a tendency to create these websites where your video starts to automatically play. Even with, like, for me, I'm not autistic, but for me, sometimes I'm not sure where that sound's coming from. There's this page and there is a voice that's speaking, but it's somewhere within that page that starts automatically, and there is no way for me to find out where it is. So I can understand how difficult it must be for somebody with a disability to go through something like that. Okay, reading further. Ian is autistic. His autism was identified at an early age because of delays in speech development. Ian received a lot of early childhood support, which helped him to develop language and social skills. However, he still experiences some barriers with verbal communication, especially when experiencing anxiety. Pausing to read. This is a very real situation with people with anxiety disorders. People with autism, like we see here, they experience anxiety. But people without these also experience anxiety. I do sometimes. And it's a real thing, right? To be able to overcome these communication barriers, to be able to overcome language barriers, to be able to comprehend things as simply as they are there. These are skills that sometimes are difficult for some people. And so we have to make sure that the websites are simpler, they are clear, there are no barriers that would stop somebody from going through the website easily. Also, things like nothing on the page that causes anxiety. Like if there's a lot of stuff, it's very confusing. There's so much to see. If, for example, even a person with ADHD would find it difficult, right? So just specific to this persona, these are the barriers that Ian has. And so with autism comes all of these, and that makes it all the more important that we be able to provide simpler, clearer websites and internet assets so that they can be accessed more easily and consumed and understood, comprehended more easily. Okay, reading further. Ian works part-time as a data scientist. Working with a computer is easy for Ian, although updates to data entry application can cause him problems if there are significant changes to the interface. This can cause feelings of anxiety for Ian if he doesn't know the change is coming and given time to adapt. It can also be difficult for Ian if someone asks for some work that causes him to use parts of the system that he is not as familiar with. It is important that systems use a consistent layout and navigation. Okay? See, this is such an important thing. If your website does not have consistency in terms of the way it flows, like a consistent layout or a consistent navigation system, it becomes very difficult for people with cognitive and difficulties to understand, to follow. It causes anxiety in some people, and this is very important. This is the very primary reason why we should have simplistic layouts, but we should also have predictable methods within those layouts. Things like your navigation systems have to be in the same place in all the pages within the website. They have so they know where to look for what, right? So there has to be familiarity, which when thrown into unfamiliar grounds might be very intimidating for some people, especially somebody like Ian. Reading further. Ian finds interacting with colleagues via email easy. He has worked with his team to help them appreciate how using plain language and not introducing new metaphors can help him. Many have said they also prefer less corporate jargon as well. So, using simpler words, plain language, simple short sentences. If you have abbreviations, expanding the abbreviations and not and keeping it clearer. Also, not using a lot of corporate jargon because not everybody understands. For example, people say BAU. Okay, it's business as usual. So if you're going to use jargon which is related to corporate environments, make sure that there is an explanation as well with it, because not everybody understands that, right? The barriers might not necessarily be like in case of Ian, who's autistic. It could also simply be people with cultural differences coming from different other backgrounds, right? So you may not understand every word that's been said. So it's best to keep things clear and simple for accessibility. Reading further. Ian has his own living space in his parents' home, including his own kitchen. He has been learning to cook using online videos. However, vague language, metaphors, and implied content in some of the videos makes them difficult to understand. He finds straightforward, practical, step-by-step videos really helpful. Some of the cooking sites Ian uses have a lot of adverts on them with banners and video, which is distracting. This is particularly bad if there is audio as well, especially if Ian can't control it easily. It is best when websites don't automatically play audio and video adverts, or at least let Ian control them. Okay, so that's important. You need to have your controls in place. The ability to pause and stop or play something has to be in the control of the person or the user. Things that play automatically, there needs to be a way to stop that. A very easy and accessible way to do that, right? Also, when there are videos, you make sure that the language is simple in the videos, it's clear. If you have captions are clear. Just in this particular case where we're looking at Ian, who has autism, making the videos clean without distractions is very important, so he can enjoy and learn and be a part of everything that's going on as well. Less video advertisements, very important. Or if there are video advertisements, there should be a way to skip or stop or control those from playing. That's important. Reading further. Barrier examples. Non-literal text. Barrier. I have difficulty understanding metaphors, acronyms, abbreviations, and words that aren't used in their literal sense. Works well. Website that spells everything out. And don't use metaphors. Are easier for me to understand. Works well. Websites that spell everything out and don't use metaphors are easier for me to understand. Which is correct. Stopping to read, sorry. Which is correct, because here you will you know that the barriers are about difficulty understanding because of autism, right? Now, metaphors, any words and sentences which have other meanings from what's implied, acronyms or short forms, abbreviations, things like idioms, and words with double meanings. Try not to use those. Okay, so websites that say everything as they are, they spell it out, right, and don't use metaphors, are easier for somebody with autism to follow. Okay, reading further. Barrier examples. Plain language. Barrier: sites that use fancy language or long sentences to describe a simple concept are hard to understand. What works well? I'm better at understanding the content when the authors just use plain language and simple sentences, like I said before. That's important. Next, reading further. Consistent layout and navigation. Barrier: I get confused when I go to different page on a website and the layout and navigation aren't the same. We spoke about this before, right? So I'm not going to go explain it again. What works well? Reading further, what works well? When there is a consistent look to the pages on a site, I can learn where things are. Okay, nice. Continuing to read. Heading structure. Barrier: long pages that are not broken up into sections are hard to read and understand. Works well. Descriptive headings that are styled like an outline help me to find what I need and want and better understand the content. Stopping to read. Yes, your header structure, the way that you section out your pages, the way that because headings are very important, not just for screen readers, not just for the use with screen readers to jump through different sections using a screen reader, but it's important also for comprehension to be able to see and understand headings when they describe the sections below it. So that way you can organize your content more clearly and it works well, you understand it better, right? So that's what this is talking about. Next, moving or blinking content. Barrier: moving or blinking content is distracting and I can't remember what I wanted to do. Works well. It's best when sites don't use moving or blinking content, but if they do, let me turn it off. Okay, so I would say just don't use any blinking content. Moving content also is a no-no, but if you are allowed to stop it in time, I think it should be okay. But it's very distracting to have continuously moving content or blinking content, right? So it's this is a huge barrier, not just for people with autism, but people with dyslexia, people with ADHD, people with who are epileptic. Vigorously moving content on the screen, sometimes blinking content on the screen can trigger an epileptic attack. So it is important not to have such content on the page. Reading further. Assistive technologies and adaptive strategies used. Pop-up and animation blockers. Reading assistance. Volume control. Spelling and grammar tools. Word prediction. Related WAI resources. Use case. AMI, an autistic computer scientist. Video understandable content. Tip: use headings to convey meaning and structure. Tip: make link text meaningful. Tip, provide clear instructions. Tip, keep content clear and concise. Tip, ensure that interactive elements are easy to identify. Tip, provide clear and consistent navigation options. Tip, provide easily identifiable feedback. Tip, help users avoid and correct mistakes. Check headings, check forms, labels, and errors. Okay, this entire section is very important to understand how how WCAG relates to all of this, right? When we actually read the WCAG reference with all the success criteria within it, we will be going through all of these things in detail, right? So I'm not going to go into each of those, but to remember and to understand that these are some very useful things to keep in mind when creating content, especially for people with cognitive disabilities. So, reading further, related principles. Content can be presented in different ways. Perceivable. Content is easier to see and hear. Again, perceivable. The perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. These are your different principles in WCAG, right? So these are the related principles for this kind of a disability. Content can be presented in different ways. Perceivable. Content is easier to see and hear. Again, perceivable. Users can easily navigate, find content, and determine where they are. That's operable. Content does not cause seizures and physical reactions. Operable. Text is readable and understandable. Understandable. Content appears and operates in predictable ways. Understandable. If you're not familiar with WCAG, these are references to the different principles, like I said, and each principle has guidelines, and under guidelines you have success criteria which pertain to things like this, right? So we will reach that. At that point we will read it further, but for now there is a video for Ian. We're going to see this video and then we're going to stop for today. And if you notice, the video has got a beautiful transcript right below it with descriptions of the visuals. So if you ever happen to come to this page and you need a transcript or visuals that are described, this is how they have displayed it in here. So that's a good thing. But we're just going to go through the video for now. Okay. So I'm going to click this video and we're going to watch it.
How people with disabilities use digital technology. Ian, data scientist with autism.
Hello, I'm Ian. I'm autistic. I work for a software company 3 bus stops from my home. I'm a data scientist. I enjoy my work very much. Others find this work difficult because it's quite technical, but for me it's really easy. Except when something changes and I don't have enough time to figure out what changed, like when I was trying to get to an online meeting and found that the buttons on the app changed. It was very stressful because I was worried about being late to the meeting. Apps that ask for permission before updating allow me to find a suitable time and adjust to the changes. Sometimes I press the wrong thing and everything just changes and I don't know how to go back. It makes me feel like I just can't cope. I'm trying to work, but I just can't, and I start to panic and then I can't even talk anymore. It's very important to me when I can roll back and undo changes that I didn't intend or expect to happen. It's also really frustrating when I have to stop work because of an error message that doesn't tell me what the error is. Error messages that just say input error are so useless. Often it's something really simple, like I didn't use the right format for the date. Why doesn't it say that? I love to cook when I'm not working. My friends love to eat what I cook because I find the best recipes. Some cooking websites and apps are easy to use. My favourite recipe sites list the exact ingredients and have step-by-step instructions. It's easy to find the recipes using the tags and to follow them. Unfortunately, I can't use some recipe sites even though they have recipes I really want to try, especially the ones where all sorts of videos start playing and pop-up windows appear without me pressing anything. I didn't ask for this. These are overwhelming and aren't the recipe. All I want is the recipe. Or some sites use meaningless words and phrases and don't even bother explaining them. I mean, what is a scant cup of brown sugar? Scant could mean so many different things. Instead of scant, just say what you mean. Like a cooking cup filled just below the top, or not quite a full cup. That would be easier to understand for everyone. You can help make technology accessible to me.
Accessibility. It's about people. For more information from the Web Accessibility Initiative on how people with disabilities use digital technology, visit w3.org/WAI/people.
Okay, that was a nice video that we saw. And yes, his name is Ian. Sorry, Ian, I called you Ian at the start. So Ian is a data entry clerk with autism. We saw this lovely video about him. And I want to say that all the content that I'm showing within this video that I'm creating is W3C copyright, and it's theirs. I'm just using and borrowing the information that's there to create these videos. It's a learning process for me. I am also reading through because I just feel like the content, there's so much of content, and I get tired just reading on my own. So when I read, I feel I'm reading with you, whoever is seeing through this video. And so I'm able to read through all of this content. And I feel like it helps as well for people to, just go through this content. You don't have to do it on your own, kind of a feeling. And also that when it's sectioned out this way, that it's not as overwhelming. You go through section by section with somebody, and so that's helpful. So if this series and these videos are helpful, if my channel is helpful to you, please subscribe so I can benefit from that as well. And I am happy to share any information and knowledge that I am gathering or I know of, and I'm hoping it's useful for somebody out there. Thank you so much, everyone. I will see you again in another video. Bye-bye.